Hello, everyone, and welcome to Observations from the Fence Post. Today, I'm going to be doing a comic book series review called Primordial. Now, Primordial was a comic book series that was released by Image Comics in late 2021 and early 2022. It was a 6-issue series, and it is an alternate history story that ponders a what-if question. So, this is the collected hardback version of the 6 issues, and it is a beautiful rendered hardcover version, and I was very pleased with many of the things that I will be showing you. Okay, so if this is an alternate history, that means that there's something in real history. Well, let's look at 3 names, shall we? The names we need to look at are Leica, Miss Abel, and Miss Baker. Now, these 3 names are the names of 3 of the many animals that were used in early space exploration. So let's briefly look at the real history of these 3 animals. Okay, Leica was a Russian stray dog that was found and groomed to be part of the Sputnik 2 mission. She became the first living creature to orbit the Earth on November 3rd, 1957. Unfortunately, the Soviets did not have the technology to bring an orbiting capsule back to Earth, and Leica died in orbit on the same day, November 3rd, 1957. 2 years later, the United States, as part of their space exploration mission, they sent up 2 monkeys on May 28th, 1959, and they became the first monkeys to survive a trip into space and back. And that, of course, was Miss Abel and Miss Baker. Now, Miss Abel was a rhesus monkey who had been born in captivity in the United States. And even though she survived the mission, she died in surgery a few days later from an infected medical electrode that had been used in the mission. Miss Baker was a squirrel monkey from Peru that was used, and she lived a good long life. As after the mission, she lived until 1984. So that is the real life story of our 3 animals. And again, this series is a alternate history look at a what-if scenario. And let's ponder that scenario for a minute. What if something different happened with the Leica mission? And what if 2 years later something different happened with the Miss Abel and Miss Baker mission, and that those missions actually had something possibly in common? And that is where our story just really takes off. There's a mystery to it that is having to be solved, and then it really gets into a wonderful science fiction tale based, again, on a what-if scenario of an alternate history. So that's pretty cool. Now, there's some really nice themes that were sometimes covered in a subtle manner, and let's look at some of those themes. This book looks at racism. It looks at sexism, particularly with our 2 main human characters. It looks at the ethical treatment of animals. It certainly takes a really good look at space exploration, advancement from said space exploration, and it also takes a very hard look at our fear of the unknown. Now, in many ways, this story, let me kind of show you some of the artwork here. Here we go. This is part of our mystery right there. This story can be minimal at times, and that not everything is explained completely like we might want as the reader. Not everything in the story has a complete answer. We are given clues as to some of those things, but not everything is laid out in in a picture perfect, here's all the explanation you need, here's everything that happened, and here's everything you need to know to understand. And that made the work, in my opinion, stronger. It leaves much up to the imagination of the reader. Okay. The characters, wow, they were very well written. And my kind of key about is a character good written well or not is, do I care about them? And I did care about the characters in the book. In many ways, this is a very touching story. There are some, there are some images I just don't want to show you because it will give some plot points away. But there are at least 3 images that I could open this book and just show you that just are touching and heart-tugging. And that's another great reason to read this book. Now, the creative team on this book is Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, and Dave Stewart. They have worked on collaborations in the past, and they are also on a current collaboration called The Bone Orchard Mythos, which is currently being released right now. Okay, so I wanted to show you one more little thing just to show you how powerful art is. Okay, this is a graphic novel. Okay, and let's look at this particular shot right here. Okay, as you can see, there's no words or dialogue in this particular panel. And I think this is a wonderful example of how art can perpetuate the story. If you have read the story up to this point, you know exactly what's going on in this panel. But it also shows a dichotomy. In my opinion, it shows 2. On one hand, we got the Soviet tank here kind of representing war. And we have the older woman hoping to live her life in peace. So we have that dichotomy of war versus peace. We also have that dichotomy of mankind, coexisting with nature. And that's a really big theme in the story too. So here's an example on why visual art mediums can be an important storytelling device, as this one panel says quite a lot in terms of being a panel by itself and in terms of the overall story. So I really enjoyed, let me see if I can get some other, this is something I wanted to show everyone. This right here is the cover of the hardcover. Okay. But this was also the cover to issue number 1 in the series. Now, look at this. This is spectacular. This was the cover of issue number 2, and we get to see Laika, an artistic rendering of Laika. And then on the back, this was the cover of issue number 3 in the series, and we get to see an artistic rendering of Miss Abel. So I just thought that was fantastic. It took another, I rarely take off my book covers, so I did not know that was underneath the cover until I read about it, and just spectacular art here. So that is my review of Primordial. If I had to rate it, honestly, for me, this was a 5 out of 5. This was a very strong book. It was a moving book. It had great themes that I covered. So what type of person would like this book? Well, certainly, if you're a fan of any of these 3, you will want to pick up this book because they are on their A game. If you're a fan of the space race and history, if you know the further stories of Laika and Abel and Miss Baker, a little bit more of their history that I didn't cover. This book will be something that brings you some joy. If you like alternate history and what if scenarios, as I talked about, this book is for you. So this is a good example on how the comic book medium and the graphic novel medium really can make a difference. They're not all superhero stories, which are fine. I read those too. But it just shows us that storytelling is an art form that can be done in many, many different ways. And this is a beautiful example of the graphic novel comic book style of telling good stories. So I do recommend, if you're curious, to pick it up. Thank you for joining me. If you like this, hit the like button. Would love to have you subscribe to my channel, Observations from the Fence Post. And as I end all of my videos, remember, keep it between the ditches and peace. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.